Hello grade 8. For today's lesson, we will be discussing factoring quadratic trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to factor quadratic trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Before we proceed in factoring quadratic trinomials, let's have a short recall in finding the factors of a particular number. In this example, let's find the factors of 6 and negative 12. When we say factors, these are two pairs of numbers that we multiply to get our desired product. Let's have the factors of 6. We have 1 and 6. We have 2 and 3. We have negative 1 and negative 6. We have negative 2 and negative 3. When we multiply 1 and 6, we will have a product of 6. When we multiply 2 and 3, we will have a product of 6. When we multiply negative 1 and negative 6, we will have a product of positive 6. And lastly, when we multiply negative 2 and negative 3, we will have a product of positive 6. These numbers are called factors. Now let's find the factors of negative 12. We have 1 and negative 12, 2 and negative 6, 3 and negative 4, negative 1 and 12, negative 2 and 6, and lastly, negative 3 and 4. And these are all the factors of negative 12. Now let's proceed on our main topic, which is quadratic trinomial. When we say quadratic trinomial, it is an expression of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where x is a variable and abc are non-zero constant, where a is our leading coefficient, b is our linear coefficient, and c is our constant term. There are steps in factoring quadratic trinomial. First, check if there is a common monomial factor and if it is a perfect square trinomial. Second, find AC. To get AC, just multiply the leading coefficient and the constant term. Third, find the factors of AC such that their sum is equal to B. For easy finding, when the constant term of the trinomial is positive, look for two numbers with same signs. The sign is the sign of the middle term. B. When the constant term of the trinomial is negative, find two numbers with opposite sign whose sum is the coefficient of the middle term and whose product is C. And lastly, write the factors as a product of two binomials. Let's have our first example. We have here x squared plus 12x plus 11. Our first step is to write or to list down all the factors of 11. Because 11 is a positive number, therefore we are looking for same signs of factors. So the factors are 1 and 11 and negative 1 and negative 11. Our next step is to find a pair of factors wherein when we multiply, the answer is 11 and when we add, the answer is 12. And we see that our factors is 1 and 11 because when we add 1 and 11, the answer is 12. Our last step is to write it as the product of two binomials. Therefore, x plus 1 times the quantity of x plus 11 are the factors of x squared plus 12x plus 11. To check whether our answers are correct, let's have a checking. Earlier, our answer in this given polynomial is the product of x plus 1 times the quantity of x plus 11. We can perform a FOIL method to find our answers. X times x is x squared, x times 11 is 11x, 1 times x is x, and 1 times 11 is 11. When we simplify x squared plus 11x plus x plus 11, the answer would be x squared plus 12x plus 11. As you can see, our answer and our given is the same. Therefore, the factors we obtain are correct. Let's have the second example. We have here m squared minus 6m plus 8. Our first step is to check whether there is a common monomial factor in our given polynomial and to check whether that is under perfect square trinomial. As we can see, it is not, and there is no common monomial factor. Therefore, we proceed. We will list down all the factors of 8. Because we have here positive 8, we will list down pairs of factors with same signs. So we have 1 and 8, 2 and 4, negative 1 and negative 8, and negative 2 and negative 4. Our next thing to do is to find the factors wherein when we add the two factors, the answer would be negative 6. And that is negative 2 and negative 4. Our last step is to write it as the product of two binomials. So we will have m minus 2 times m minus 4. Our third example is a squared plus 3a minus 10. Our first step is to check if there is a common monomial factor or if this polynomial is under perfect square trinomial. We see that this is not under perfect square trinomial and we do not have a common monomial factor. Therefore, we proceed on listing down all the factors of negative 10. We see that our constant term is negative. Therefore, we will list down all the factors with opposite signs. So we have negative 1 and 10, we have negative 2 and 5, we have 1 and negative 10, and lastly, 2 and negative 5. Our last step is to find a pair of factors that when we add, the answer would be positive 3, and that is negative 2 and 5. Our last step is to write it as a product of two binomials. Therefore, our final answer is a minus 2 times the quantity of a plus 5. For our fourth example, we have y squared minus 7y minus 18. Our first step is to check whether there is common monomial factor or if this polynomial is under perfect square trinomial. We see that this is not under PST and we do not have common monomial factor. Therefore, we will proceed on listing down all the factors of negative 18. And we see that our constant term is negative, therefore, we will list down all the factors with opposite signs. The factors of negative 18 are 1 and negative 18, negative 1 and 18, 2 and negative 9, negative 2 and 9, 3 and negative 6, negative 3 and 6. Our next step is to find a pair of factors that when we add up, the answer would be negative 7, and that is 2 and negative 9. Our last step is to write it as a product of two binomials. So we will have y plus 2 times the quantity of y minus 9. For our last example, we have x squared plus 5x minus 24. Our first step is to check whether there is a common monomial factor and to check whether this is under perfect square trinomial. We see that there is no common monomial factor and this is not under perfect square trinomial. Therefore, we proceed on listing down all the factors of negative 24. We see that our last term is negative, therefore we will list down all the factors of negative 24 with opposite signs. The factors of negative 24 are 1 and negative 24, negative 1 and 24, 2 and negative 12, negative 2 and 12, 3 and negative 8, negative 3 and 8, 4 and negative 6, and lastly, negative 4 and 6. Our next step is to find a pair of factors that when we add up, the answer would be positive 5, and that is negative 3 and 8. Our last step is to write it as the product of two binomials. So we will have x minus 3 times the quantity of x plus 8. That's all for today. Do not forget to access your Keeper accounts for a short assessment. Do not hesitate to ask Sir Alex and Miss Ria for further questions. Thank you!